Okay guys, for your next video, we have two parts. The first part, we're looking at elements versus compounds and molecules and mixtures. So starting with elements, elements are substances made of a single type of atom or a group of the same kind of atoms. We represent these by using a symbol like you see on the periodic table. Here an example is C for carbon, or you may see it drawn as a colored circle, and that circle will be only one color. Molecules are two or more atoms that are bonded together. Now for molecules, they can be the same. For example, two oxygen atoms bonded together to give you O2, or they can be different. For example, two hydrogen atoms bonded to an oxygen atom to give us a H2O water molecule. Some other examples are H2 and NaCl. Compounds are very similar to molecules, but compounds are made from two or more different elements. So while molecules are considered different and the same, compounds are only different. We represent compounds using chemical formulas, which is two chemical symbols together, like H2O for water, CO2 for carbon dioxide, and C6H12O6 for glucose. Another example of a compound is NaCl for salt. Something to remember, these can only be separated by chemical means, not physically. And finally, mixtures are a combination of two or more substances. Mixtures are held together by a physical force, not chemical, so we combine them physically, therefore they can be separated physically. Use this drawing and make sure you draw the examples for each of the four types of substances in your notes. So here is our visual example of an element, because they are one circle and they are the same color. Our examples for molecules are the two in the middle. Here we have our molecule that is two or more atoms of the same element, and we have our molecule that is two or more of different elements, represented by green and purple. This is also a compound because it is two or more different elements. And finally we have our mixture, which is a combination of elements, molecules, and compounds. The last thing you need to know for elements versus compounds is what an organic compound is. Organic compounds are two or more different atoms bonded together, and it must include carbon and hydrogen. Other elements can be combined with these and they're still considered organic. We use CHOMPs: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, to help us remember these other elements. An example is C6H12O6, which is organic because it has carbon and hydrogen. A non-example, CO2, which is not organic because while it does have carbon, it does not have hydrogen. Alright, so for part 2 of this video, we are looking at evidence of a chemical change. Now we did talk about physical and chemical properties at the beginning of our chemistry unit. Now we're only looking at how you can tell a chemical change has taken place. So here are some examples of evidence of a chemical change. Gas formation, usually observed as bubbles. That's how we know a chemical change has taken place. If a precipitate forms, a precipitate is a insoluble solid, something that doesn't dissolve. If that forms, then we know we have a chemical change. If it changes color, if there's energy production in the form of light or heat, if you can't reverse it, so you can't undo what's been done, and if you have a new substance, which a precipitate would be considered a new substance. If you get a smell, I already talked about gas, heat or light, and color change. Make sure you get these written down. These are all examples of how you can tell a chemical change has taken place. The main thing to remember is that you're going to get something with new and different properties. So here are your sources. Make sure you ask your teacher if you have any questions.